Hey, Kyle here. In today's interview, I have the privilege of sitting down with Paul Montague of Paul Montague Tax Preparation. And so, Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone and tell them a little bit about yourself and what do people need to know about you who don't know you.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, thanks, Kyle. I really appreciate the opportunity to get a chance to chat with you today and share a little bit about myself and my business. Um, and probably as a little bit of a backstory is um, I was 20 years in the telephone industry when the dot-com bubble burst in early 2000, 2000, 2002. I got laid off, and it was what was I going to do, and what was sort of my next step in life. So a friend of mine said, "Get into insurance," and I ran through about a year and a half process of trying to sell insurance, and I learned I was not an insurance salesperson, which was it's always a good thing to learn if you need to learn that. I take my hat off to successful insurance people, but it's something you need to get into when you're early and you got to run at it hard. But the one thing that was a real blessing during that period was a friend of mine who had at that time um, about 17 years as a successful tax preparer said, go to H&R Block, learn how to do taxes, and get licensed in Oregon to prepare taxes. And then so I did just that, and I went to work for her my first tax season, um, and I think that was 2003, if I remember correctly. And then I went following year. I went to work. I got tired of commuting to Clackamas, so the following year I went to work for H&R Block for a tax season. Um, and what I learned is I enjoyed taxes. Taxes were fun. They're a puzzle. Everybody's return is unique, and it's frankly, it's I enjoyed helping people with their taxes. Um, so, long story short, I ended up not continuing at that time doing taxes, but I ended up going to work for the Vancouver Chamber of Commerce, and so that's where most people around Vancouver who know me from the Vancouver Chamber, and then and that was 2005, and then in 2011 moved over to run Identity Clark County for about 3 years. And then in 2014, I left there to take on some political endeavors and ended up at the end of 2014 running the Battleground Chamber of Commerce. I did that for 2 years. Loved it. It's a great community out in Battleground. I had a good time while I was out there. Um, but the Battleground Chamber is a small chamber. And I just couldn't afford to keep doing just that. So, knowing how to do taxes and that I enjoyed doing taxes, I decided I was going to hang my shingle out and open up Paul Montague Tax Preparation. And this was in the fall of 2016. And so I approached the board of the Battleground Chamber and asked if they would consider me doing taxes part time during tax season and work for the chamber the rest of the year. And essentially, no, they wanted somebody full time. So I left the Battleground Chamber and hung out my shingle to do taxes full time, starting in January of 2017. Um, it's over the past, this is my fourth tax season doing taxes. And over the past four tax seasons, I started out small, and it's like any small business. It starts out small. But what I saw was double or better growth year over year, to where this year um, I'm somewhere in the neighborhood of about 250% of total revenue for last year. So I'm really happy to see where the growth has gone. And what's been neat about this is throughout this process, I've really gotten to meet a lot of neat people. Um, taxes don't have to be scary. Um, although, it's like everybody thinks about the IRS, and it's like, oh shit, pardon my language, you'll probably bleep that out or maybe not. but it's really it's a little bit when they're dealing with taxes in the IRS, it's a little bit of deer in the headlights. What I've found is one, the process of doing taxes, especially as I've worked through as many clients as I've worked through, is relatively straightforward. Um, and it's a matter of having the right information. And then when it comes to dealing with the IRS, so much of the time, the people I've met at the IRS, they're good people who are trying to do their jobs, and they want to be helpful if they can. And so it's been an interesting learning experience along the way.
Paul, you uttered a phrase that I don't know if I have ever heard before. Taxes are fun. And so you said that came out of your mouth. So here you got to elaborate on that. I know you talked about it briefly, but elaborate on that. What makes taxes fun for you?
Probably the easiest thing I can say um, is one, it is like a puzzle. Um, it's, you know, paying our taxes. It's funny, my stepson gave me a picture of Ronald Reagan with the quote, taxation is theft. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna, it's like, and he's going, you want to hang that up in your office? And it's like, no, I'm not going to hang that up in my office. But, it's our taxes that pay for the services and so much the infrastructure and everything that makes our country go. I mean, if we don't have tax revenue coming in, we don't have revenue coming in, we're not going to get the protections that we look for, the court system, the roads, transportation, all the different things that make our society work and make America great. So, with that as a backdrop, just doing taxes, I like taxes because they're transactional. Um, you come to me, you've got your tax situation. You've got income from different sources. Maybe you've got expenses. You've got kids, education, a home. And you come to me and it's like, I need help putting this in something that's a neat package that then goes to the IRS and I don't have to worry about it. And so for me, I enjoy um, the process of essentially assembling that puzzle um, to then um, check, run through with you, and then basically send off to the IRS. And ideally, where you don't hear anything from the IRS. And if you don't hear anything from the IRS, I've done my job and life is good. Um, and if you do hear something from the IRS, then I'm here to sit there with you and work through it and try and get your issues resolved. So I don't know if that fully answers the taxes are fun, but it's I've got some good friends who are bookkeepers. I've got some good friends who are CPAs, and then a variety of good friends through the chamber and the business association and other groups around town that are in a variety of businesses. But I've done as treasurer for a couple of different groups or organizations. I've done bookkeeping. I've learned no, that does not excite me, um, and I didn't have the patience in college to do accounting. Although I actually enjoyed accounting courses, but that wasn't my path at the time. But it's what I find is it's for me. This is a good, comfortable place to work, and I enjoy it.
So now we're still paying our taxes, even in the midst of COVID.
Uh-huh.
We're still navigating all of this together. So
Yeah.
how has COVID-19 affected you as a business owner and as someone who is working in tax preparation?
Um, frankly, other than changing how I meet with my clients, COVID-19 has not really changed, impacted my business. Um, for me, one of the things that I enjoy in doing taxes is actually meeting with my clients. I love sitting down with them face to face. It's as much just catching up and seeing how the year has gone for them as it is actually me gathering information about their taxes. And then likewise, when we're reviewing their taxes at the end of the process, it's a chance to catch up. So I enjoy meeting with my clients. Um, and if I've got a disappointment with COVID, is that no, I can't meet them in person. But frankly, um, I meet with them on Zoom or Zoom. Let me aim my hands right. Um, and I meet with them on Zoom. And no, it's not the same as in person, but it's something that it's within everybody's comfort zone. It's safe. We don't have to worry about um, COVID. Um, so, and life goes on.
Mhm,
Um, as I will say, I've got some elderly clients who aren't tech savvy,
mhm.
or they still got to meet in person. So in that case, it's I'm wearing the mask. I've wiped down the desk and the chairs, and we still have that conversation. It's just a little more delicately than I would do if we're on Zoom. Um, so then when taxes, it's have a meeting. Um, let me prepare your taxes. Let me review your taxes with you. Um, let me get your signature or your authorization to file your taxes. Um, and then I file them, and and I get paid for my services.
Mhm.
Um, all of this can be done remotely, not as easily, a few more steps, but it's still doable in light of COVID-19. So,
Man, well, that's so exciting for you, and I want to follow up on that, just kind of navigating COVID question with
yeah,
just a personal and professional kind of two-parter. What are you learning personally in this season as you just kind of look at, the country and COVID and navigating a season like this
mm,
where some practices are changing? And then what
yeah.
are you just learning professionally in this season of navigating COVID?
One of the things that I just see is we are all adapting.
Mm,
Um, COVID is something that is going to be with us for a while. And until we get a good vaccine, or until we get to the point where enough people have gone through it that it's not spreading as much, this is going to be with us for a while. And it's changing everything. It's changing, how we interact with people on a personal level. And then how do we do business on a professional level? And frankly, what I've seen is it's what's gratifying to see is although it's painful to deal with COVID as we're dealing with it right now, um, people are adaptive
mm,
and they're creative and they're flexible. And what we find is we're creating new practices, new ways of connecting, new ways of doing business um, that nobody ever thought we'd have to do before. But if you look at it, we're finding ways to work along and keep moving forward, even while we're dealing with COVID.
mm.
And so, from a professional perspective, I've found new ways that I've got to connect with my clients and peers um, that allow me to continue to, work with my clients and service their needs, help them with their taxes. And then also, another big part of my business is education and making sure that I'm staying up to date and keeping up with the IRS and new laws and new tax code changes. And so, it's there are two or three annual conferences that I would go to every year um, that normally would be in person. There's one big one that's put on by the IRS that I'll be doing remotely for about over a 2 week period instead of being something that's condensed into 4 or 5 days. um, this is now going to be something that's over like a 2 week period that I'll be doing all of my education and connecting with peers and the like. And there's several others alike, but that's just one example.
I
So,
think that's a great example because I think it's an example of how the future is going to change in light of what we're going through now.
mhm.
So why don't do that with me for a moment? What are some things in the future that will be different because of this season, maybe in your business, or maybe just kind of you think in our society in general. So forecast the future with me a minute, and what do you think's coming down, even coming down the pike in light of some of these changes that we're seeing?
I'm not sure how to totally forecast the future, but I know that it's sort of um, once God, and I'm trying to think of the good metaphor, but it's like if you think about somebody says once paper's been bent or metal's been bent, it never really goes back to the way it was before.
Mm,
Um, and um, we've all been bent, stretched is probably a better way to put it by COVID-19. Um, so we will not be going back to the way things were before, or at least not for another probably 5 to 10 years.
mm,
Um, it's just something that um, greetings are going to be different. Um, Going to restaurants is now different, and it's going to be different for a while. Um, and COVID has a way of really sort of reinforcing that. And that if you look at the places around the country where they've had group gatherings or bars reopen and stuff, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later you've got outbreaks there, so people are conscious of it. Also, some of our thinking is going to be different. For me, um, given how serious COVID is, um, I'm thankful every day.
mm,
And as I tell a friend, I've dodged the bullets today,
mm.
and so um, I'm thankful I get to the end of the day and I've got my health. Um, and so I'm more conscious of healthful practices, for lack of a better way to put it. And I think we're all going to have to become more health conscious that way.
So I like the way you put that. Is some of these changes are here to stay, and we may not know which changes are exactly here to stay and which
Yeah,
will phase out, in a year or two. But I
yeah,
mean, I heard you give that, 5 to 10 years potential mark, as we're going to see some of the things that have changed now
yeah,
still be in effect five
yeah.
to 10 years.
Oh, it's
And
good. Yeah. For me, the hope is that we get through it um, with minimal death and destruction and illness. But we don't know what the future is going to hold. I just hope that um, and pray that we manage to keep and work our way through it um, with as positive an outcome as possible.
any last words? What would you like the community to hear from you? Potential new clients. What do you want them to hear from you from an interview like this, where we've been bouncing around of some
Yeah.
past, some present, and some future? What do you want current and future clients to know about Paul Montague?
Probably the best thing is that I'm here. This is something I really do enjoy doing taxes. I enjoy helping people with their taxes and really helping them. It's a lot of times solve problems. This for me got into it 4 years ago because it's something that I really felt like I could do and do well. Um, and I enjoy doing it. And I enjoy meeting every new client I meet is a new friendship, a new relationship, and I enjoy getting to know the people that I work with year in, year out. For me, um, it really is. I believe that um, we the best tax professionals are the ones that have an ongoing relationship with their clients. And for me, the clients I love to work with are the ones that come back to me year after year after year. So I get a chance to see them, catch up with them, see how their family's doing, see if there's been any new circumstances in their lives, and let's reconnect and then let's get your taxes done.
Well, awesome. You have said that you are here. So where can people find you if they want you to do their taxes? What
You can look me up on Yelp, Montague Tax Prep. My website is montaguetaxprep.com. I am downtown Vancouver, located on the corner of 8th and Main in the old Vancouver Commerce Center. For those who are longtime Clark County residents, It's what used to be known as the CC store. And it used to be the one place you could go and get your Boy Scout uniforms, Girl Scout uniforms, and the like in Vancouver.
Mm.
And then my office number here is 360-326-1314. And then you can also just email me at paul@montaguetaxprep.com as well. So that's sort of easy ways to reach me.
So, Paul, I just want to say, man, thanks for sitting down with me today and answering a few questions. And I learned something about you, that you think taxes are fun, and I'll be sure to make sure anyone who thinks taxes are not fun to point them directly to
Oh,
you,
definitely.
because that will be a great uh, client relationship
Yeah.
there for you.
Well, Kyle, I really thank you. I appreciate it. I am really glad you are doing these for businesses around our community. I got to tell you that with COVID-19 going around, it's really hammered a lot of our community businesses. And so thank you for continuing to produce these as we're moving forward. And thank you again for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks, and support local, support Van Wa.